Ellie. I feel like this is weird for us because I feel like we see each other a lot, don't we? But let's talk about your transition from leaving our family home.
I wanted to move because I didn't like any rules. I wanted to be my own person. I wanted to show people that I can live by myself and that I can do things independently. Because there's two different types. You have a house where there's no staff live on site.
Yeah.
And that's independent living, and you just have a support worker come and have meetings with you and talk things through, like benefits and stuff like that. And then you have a house or flat that staff lives on site, and that's a semi-independent.
Right, okay.
There's been a few houses that I've moved into, and there's been people threatening me.
So after that, so I know then obviously Dad came and got your bits, and then you were living with your boyfriend Phil, and then it was going into the next independent living home, wasn't it?
No, and then I was homeless for a year after I moved out of there, because then I was staying with my boyfriend, and then we moved to Ipswich.
Yeah, I remember that.
And we was there for ages. Then we moved back.
So you know when you were homeless, like classed as homeless, I know you weren't sleeping on the streets, but you never had like a fixed home, did you? Mm. When you were classed as homeless, was you getting any support from your social worker?
No, my social worker didn't even have a clue where I was.
How did you then get into this new independent living home, which is now the one that you're living in?
I phoned Debbie, and I phoned her up crying down the phone. I said, can I come round for breakfast? I went round for breakfast and I burst out crying saying I couldn't do it anymore. I need help. Because at the time I wasn't working either.
I know, I remember.
So I was like, I can't do it anymore. So then me and Debbie we sent a very long email to my social worker, and we organised a meeting so that we can sit down and discuss what help they can give me.
Yeah.
As they basically disowned me for the year.
You feel like they failed you.
Yeah.
Before you reached out to them. But it gives you the opportunity to be able to pay your bills and still live a life.
Yeah.
Without feeling too under pressure to just work.
It's a struggle.
Yeah.
It is a really big struggle.
But it's more manageable. Well, it's manageable.
It's much more manageable.
But now you obviously have the debt hanging over your head from the previous independent living, isn't it? So do you feel like you weren't supported enough with it and you weren't given enough options and the right options?
Yeah.
Who do you think's to blame for the debt that you got into? Social services.
Yeah.
Your social worker.
Yeah. And I've already said to my social worker plenty of times, I've said that I'm not paying a single penny of that. Because when I moved there, I said to them that I couldn't afford it.
And it was the only option you were given.
I sat there crying, saying that I couldn't afford it and I didn't want to move there. But they still made me move there anyway. They didn't give me no alternative.
Yeah.
No other place to live. No, not even a temporary accommodation.
So what's the solution now? So what's happening now? Because I know that the last that we spoke, you were saying that you were going to speak to your social worker and
I spoke to my social worker and he said that he's spoken to a specialist team in his building and they're working on it. But
to get it written off.
Yeah, but he's saying that I still may have to pay some of that.
Right.
And I said to him, and I'm not changing my mind, I'm keeping my ground. I said after all the stuff that social services have put me through, paying off that debt is nothing.
Yeah.
So I said, well, even if I have to pay some of that...
You could come up with some sort of payment scheme, but you can't fully pay the whole whack, I'm guessing.
Yeah, no, but I said to them, I won't even come up with a payment plan to pay off whatever I have to pay off, because it's not my fault that I have that debt.
Yeah.
I said, and if
I'm trying to think, what would have happened if you still couldn't have got a job? What would have happened to you at this point? Because I know eventually now you're working, you've got an amazing job and you're doing something really worthwhile, aren't you? You're helping older people, which is amazing, in a care home, and you love it, don't you?
Yeah.
But what would have happened if you wouldn't have been able to get that job and you still wouldn't have been earning any money because of, like many...
I don't know what would have happened.
But like many children that are in care, you know, you never had, like... You came into care quite at an age where you'd missed out on a lot of schooling, didn't you? So you found school quite hard, and you didn't come out with like the qualifications that probably the average person has, and you found it hard getting work.
I come out with no GCSEs, even though I
So what
tried
would have
my
happened
very
if you couldn't have
hardest.
got a job right now? What would have been happening with you, because you wouldn't have been able to pay the rent, would you?
I don't know. I seriously don't know what would have happened. Because I can just about manage now.
So do you
the help I'm
think
getting now.
if you could do it again, that you would have stayed in the stay and put scheme?
Yeah.
And that would be the advice that you would probably give to
everybody else.
to try and stay in foster care for as long as possible, rather than going into independent living.
Until you're financially stable and you know that you can afford things for yourself, stay put.